lions. They're not in the cage.
Calm down. Tell us exactly what happened.
You are not coming in here.
Get out! I told you to stay back. Atlas. Oh, it's you. I thought I'd lost you.
I never thought I'd see a day like...
The call came before the sun, slicing through the pre-dawn stillness. A voice on the other end of the radio, young and tight with adrenaline, used words that don't belong in the quiet dark of the mountains. Escaped predator, urban area, public safety emergency. Most days, a call like that means a coyote got a little too brave, or maybe a young black bear wandered into a neighborhood looking for trash cans. But this time, the voice said a word that made the cold air in my lungs freeze solid. Lion. By the time I pulled the truck into the zoo's service entrance, the first chaotic wave had already broken and receded. There was no screaming, no panic, just an eerie, unnatural quiet punctuated by the flashing lights of police cruisers painting the trees in strokes of red and blue. Liam was already out of the passenger seat before I'd even killed the engine, his lean frame coiled with energy. He pulled on his signature bright orange beanie, his hazel eyes already scanning, mapping the terrain. "What's the word, Jack?" "The word is impossible," I grunted, grabbing my worn canvas jacket. Coda, my German Shepherd Husky mix, whined softly from his crate in the back, his mismatched eyes, one ice blue, one warm brown, fixed on me. He could feel the tension. Dr. Maya Chen pulled up right behind us, her car a model of efficiency, just like her. She stepped out, already pulling her long brown hair into a tight ponytail, a stethoscope draped around her neck like a part of her uniform. Her sharp, intelligent eyes behind practical glasses missed nothing. "Pharmacology?" she asked, her voice calm and steady. It was always her first question. What drugs would we need? What dosage for what outcome? "Hold off on the darts for now, Maya," I said, looking toward the massive open gate of the lion enclosure. Something's not right. A young, pale-faced zoo employee met us, hands trembling. He recounted the story of the faulty lock, the fire alarm, the sudden emptiness where a 450-pound African lion should have been. The paw prints in the soft earth told a different story than the one in his panicked voice. They weren't the deep, frantic gouges of a panicked animal bolting for freedom. They were measured, deliberate. Each print was a complete thought. This wasn't an escape. It was a departure. "Liam," I said, nodding toward the tracks leading away from the enclosure. "You and Coda are up. I don't want a pursuit. I want to know where he's going. Stay quiet. Stay invisible." He just gave a sharp nod, a small smile playing on his lips. This was his element. He clipped the lead onto Coda's rescue vest, and the two of them moved off into the gray light, not like a man and his dog, but like two parts of the same hunting machine. Liam moved like water flowing around rocks, silent and efficient, with Coda's nose leading the way. Maya and I headed to the zoo's security office. On a bank of monitors, we watched the ghost. Footage from 15 minutes prior showed the huge lion, Atlas, walking down the main path. He moved with a kind of regal indifference, parting the morning fog like a ship. He ignored the overturned trash cans, the empty popcorn bags. He wasn't hunting for food. He wasn't looking for trouble. "Look at his gait," Maya murmured, leaning close to the screen, her brow furrowed in concentration. "There's a slight favor to his left foreleg. An old injury, maybe?" We watched as he bypassed the main exit, where any panicked animal would have headed, and instead slipped through an open service gate. More footage from street cameras showed the impossible sight. A lion trotting down a residential sidewalk. Cars swerved. People vanished. But the lion never broke stride. He's avoiding people, Maya said, her voice filled with a kind of scientific wonder. He's actively choosing routes with less human traffic. And, Jack, look at this. He's taking specific turns. It's like he knows this route. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Animals are creatures of instinct and habit. They don't navigate a human city with a map in their head. Unless the map wasn't of the city. Unless it was a map of a memory. Liam's voice crackled over the radio, calm and low. Jack, I've got him. He's left the main roads. Well, you're not going to believe this. He's sitting in someone's front yard. When we arrived, the scene was even more surreal than Liam's words had described. The street was cordoned off. Local police officers, looking tense and out of their depth, crouched behind their cars, rifles held at the ready. And there, in the middle of a small, neatly kept lawn in front of a modest, weathered bungalow, sat Atlas. He wasn't crouching or stalking. He was sitting, perfectly still, like a great stone sphinx. His massive head was raised, his amber eyes fixed on the house's screened-in front porch. And on the other side of that screen, sitting motionless in a rocking chair, was a frail, white-haired old woman. The young police sergeant, a kid with fear sweating on his upper lip, edged over to me. "We've got a clear shot. Just give the word." I put a hand on his shoulder, my eyes never leaving the lion. "Lower your rifle, son. Now." My voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of 30 years in the wild. He flinched and obeyed. "But sir, the civilian—" "That lion isn't a threat to her," I said, my gaze locked on the incredible tableau. "He's on a vigil." I knew in my gut that the key to this whole impossible situation was behind that screen door. I started forward, slow and deliberate, my hands open and visible. "Ma'am," I called out, my voice gentle. "My name is Jack Callahan. I'm with Quiet Paws Animal Rescue. Can you tell me what's going on?" The response was a shriek that cut through the silence, thin and sharp. "Go away! All of you! Leave him alone!" I stopped dead. The old woman was on her feet now, her small frame silhouetted against the dim interior of the house. She was holding an old broom like a spear. "You're not taking him again!" she cried, her voice cracking with a mixture of terror and rage. "He's home! You can't have him!" The sergeant hissed into his radio. The tension on the street ratcheted up another 10 degrees. My team exchanged looks. This had just gone from a complex rescue to a potential hostage situation. Only the hostage-taker was an 80-year-old woman, and the weapon was a 450-pound cat. The county sheriff, a man I'd known for years, lumbered over. "Jack, what in God's name is going on?" "I don't know, Bill," I admitted, "but she's the key. I need to talk to her." "You've got 15 minutes, he said, his face grim. "Then my hands are tied. I can't let this go on. My men will have to take the shot." 15 minutes. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. I tried again, my voice as calm as a forest pool. "Ma'am, nobody wants to hurt him. We just want to make sure everyone is safe. Can you please tell me if you know this lion?" "Know him?" she spat, her voice thick with tears. "He's my boy. You people stole him from me." My mind raced. I looked at Maya. This wasn't a wall you could climb over. It had to be unlocked. Maya understood. She moved forward, stopping a safe distance from the porch. She didn't speak to the woman at first. She raised her binoculars and looked at Atlas. "He's beautiful," Maya said, her voice carrying clearly in the quiet. It wasn't a tactic, it was a simple, honest statement. Magnificent. The woman in the doorway flinched. I see it too, Maya continued, her voice soft as falling leaves. The way he favors his left front paw. It's an old injury, isn't it? Badly healed. It must ache on cold mornings. The change was instantaneous. The broom in the woman's hands lowered an inch. The rigid defense in her posture softened. Maya hadn't seen a monster or a problem. She had seen him. She had seen his pain. Poachers, the woman whispered, the word a ragged ghost. They killed his mother for a rug, left him beside her body. They left him to die. His paw, it was broken. The rangers said he wouldn't make it through the night. And just like that, the door opened. Not the screen door to the house, but the door to the past. Her name was Margaret, and as the sheriff's 15 minutes ticked away, she told us a story that held us all captive. His paw was mangled. The bone was sticking out. The infection smelled like death. I cleaned it every hour. I set the bone myself with 2 splints made from acacia branches and gauze. For the first week, I fed him milk formula with an eyedropper because he was too weak to suckle a bottle. He'd sleep on my chest, his little purr like a broken motor, his breath warm on my neck. She called him Atlas because she said he carried the weight of the world in his frightened eyes. She showed us, through her trembling words, the little cub learning to walk on 3 legs, the playful cub who followed her everywhere. She told us of the heartbreaking day she took him for an X-ray. The bone had healed, but crooked. The vet was blunt. He'd always have a limp. He could never hunt, never fight, never survive in the wild. To save his life, I had to give him away, she said, her voice breaking. Do you know what that feels like, young lady? To break your own heart to save another's? I researched every zoo, every sanctuary. I chose the one here myself. The day I left him, I sat with him in that enclosure for 8 hours. When I walked away, I didn't look back. I couldn't. It was the hardest walk of my life. She'd chosen our local zoo herself for its good reputation. Then, a week later, she was called to Africa for an emergency conservation project that turned into a decade of her life. She thought he'd died of old age years ago, until yesterday. Her granddaughter had taken her to the zoo. She saw the sign, Atlas. She saw the faint scar above his paw. She called his name, and he had looked at her, truly looked at her, for the first time in 12 years. She'd gone home, heartbroken, thinking they'd never believe an old woman's story. But Atlas remembered. When the lock failed, he hadn't escaped. He had started the long walk home. The story hung in the air, thick with a truth more powerful than any rifle. I looked at the sheriff. His face, hard and weathered, was streaked with tears. But compassion wouldn't stop a bullet if things went wrong. I had to make her understand. I stepped forward again, my voice imbued with the gravity of the moment. Margaret, I began softly. You're right. In here, I tapped my chest. This is his home. His heart's home. You are his home. We see that now. She looked at me, her eyes wary, searching for a trick. But look around you, I continued, gesturing to the street, the police cars, the drawn rifles. This world of concrete and cars, it's not safe for him. The men with the rifles, Margaret, they aren't bad men. They're just scared. And scared people make terrible mistakes. I let that sink in, the terrible, cold truth of it. He found you. It's a miracle. But if he stays here, this beautiful story doesn't end with a reunion. It ends with a gunshot. One loud noise, one wrong move, and they will shoot. Not because they want to, but because they believe they have to. We can't let his journey end like that. Her face crumpled. She finally understood the knife's edge they were both standing on. We can take him somewhere better, I pressed, offering a lifeline, not just a command. Not a zoo with crowds, a sanctuary, a quiet place with grass and trees, a place where you can come and see him, Margaret, a place where he will be safe and you can be a part of his life again. I took a final step closer. You saved his life once, when he was small and broken. Let us help you save him one last time. For a long moment, she just stared at me. Then, slowly, she nodded, a single, silent tear tracing a path down her wrinkled cheek. She unlatched the screen door and stepped out into the morning sun. She was so small, so fragile. Liam took an involuntary step forward, ready to intervene, but I held up a hand. This was their moment. Margaret walked across the grass, each step a testament to her faith in our promise. Atlas watched her, his whole body trembling. He lowered his massive head as she approached. She reached out a wrinkled, trembling hand and laid it on his mane. And then, in the middle of a suburban street, surrounded by armed men, Margaret wrapped her arms around the neck of a full-grown African lion. He leaned into her, a deep, rumbling purr vibrating through the air, a sound not of a predator, but of a child who had finally found his way home. The spell was broken. There wasn't a dry eye on the street. Even the toughest-looking cop was wiping his cheek with the back of his glove. The threat was gone. The monster had vanished. All that was left was love. The walk back to the transport vehicle was the most surreal procession I've ever been a part of. Margaret walked beside Atlas, her hand resting on his back, murmuring to him. He walked beside her, docile and obedient. My team and the police formed a wide, silent honor guard around them. There was no need for a tranquilizer gun. Love was the only sedative required. Weeks later, I stood in front of a new, state-of-the-art enclosure at a private big cat sanctuary an hour outside the city. The funds from Margaret's will, after she passed peacefully in her sleep a month after the reunion, had made it all possible. A small brass plaque near the viewing glass read, "In memory of Margaret, who knew that love knows no species." Inside, Atlas lay peacefully in the sun. On the other side of the reinforced glass, in a comfortable chair, sat her granddaughter, reading aloud from an old book. I often think about that day. We're called a rescue team, but we don't really rescue animals from the wild. We rescue them from the messes we humans make. But that morning, we didn't just rescue a lion. We rescued a memory. We bore witness to the truth that some bonds aren't forged in steel or written in law, but in the quiet, unbreakable language of the heart. We don't conquer nature. We just listen. And sometimes, if we're lucky, we get to help it find its way home.